Hey everyone, thanks for joining us for another episode of The Lion, the Way, and the War, where we talk about Jesus, his church, and the spiritual battle that surrounds us. My name is Craig Allison, and I'll be your host. Today I have two guests that I have been looking forward to interviewing for a while, Bobby Holden and Benjamin Jagels. Bobby and Benjamin started UTC at the same time, and I think from day one, they got connected with the CSC as best as I can recall. I don't really remember seeing you guys. I did see you separately, but it seems like you showed up together on the first day. Benjamin, why don't you begin and share how you found out about the CSC and why you decided to start coming there?
Yeah. So originally, me and my roommate, Evan Flint, we were like, we lived in Lockmiller, so we were like, we want to go to ice cream social. So I think we meant to go to another one, but we just happened to show up the CSC. So yeah, we kind of just walked in, we're I remember first seeing, like, I walked in, I saw like Bobby on the couch. I'm like, everyone just was kind of just like sitting there awkwardly at first, so I'm just like, okay, it's kind of weird, but I can roll with it, I can roll with it. And but then we started playing signs and started getting to know everybody, and I was just like, wow, bunch of cool people.
So you're basically saying that it was a mistake that you showed up
Yeah,
at the CSC.
basically, yeah.
Okay. What about you, Bobby? How did you find out about the CSC? What got you started coming to the Christian Student Center?
Yeah, so I found out about the CSC through the ice cream social as well. I think that was like our main starter event there. But
now, hang on a second. Was that the Christian Student Center's social event, or was that like the UTC? Because I think they were running something similar to us at the same time.
I think there's a few. I remember seeing the CSC one though. I didn't have like the intention of going to that one, not for a particular reason, but I think like a few of my roommates were going to like the bigger venue one. But I had like my phone pulled out with like my GPS and stuff for like my Google Maps, because I had no idea like where to like go for these things. But it ended up leading me to the one at the CSC. And I kind of like experienced the same thing that Benjamin did. Came in like super nervous, like meeting people for the first time, awkward freshman. But there are like a lot of like cool people there. And I think that's why like I started to stick around and start to learn more about the CSC.
Okay, great. So this is kind of a question for both of you, and I don't care whichever one of you wants to go first. So was your plan to get involved in a campus ministry when you got to college? Was that something that you were like maybe the summer before you started your freshman year, you're thinking about, yep, one of the first things that I need to do when I get to college is get plugged into a campus ministry?
I can go ahead. Yeah, that definitely wasn't my first thought because a lot of like, typical like stereotypes with college is like, meeting a ton of people, like going to parties, all that kind of good stuff. But my parents, I was raised Catholic, but they're, super religious. So they wanted me to get plugged into something like that. But it definitely wasn't on my top, like, priority list. But I'm like super glad I ended up, going to the CSC. But yeah, it definitely wasn't my goal, but I'm glad I ended up there.
Great. Okay, what about you, Benjamin?
That joining a campus ministry was not even a thought in my mind, because leading up to college, I guess you could say I was Catholic, quote unquote. I went. My parents, well, my dad's technically Catholic. My dad's side, they're all Catholic, but I really, that's all like I've ever like really known and stuff. So I was kind of just like, oh, it's whatever. Church is cool and all, but like I still believe in God, but like I really didn't take church that seriously or spirituality or anything like that. So coming in, I was just like, I'll just kind of do my own thing. I thought I was going to be like partying and everything, just like Bobby said, the stereotypical like college experience. I had no clue I would end up at the CSC. So it was kind of surprising to me at first that I ended up there. But the more I came, the more I was like open to the idea of everything that is involved with the CSC.
So you're both coming from a Catholic background, and I'm going to circle back around to this a little bit later. But it's interesting. So both of you are coming from a Catholic background, and there is a Catholic, specifically a Catholic student center on the campus of the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga. So that's an interesting thing. You both ended up at our campus ministry. How did that happen?
For me, I think I didn't honestly really know of any of the campus ministries when I first came to UTC because like I wasn't looking for any of them. But I think the Catholic one on campus was even smaller in size than the CSC. But kind of like what I said, like I kind of like ended up at the CSC by mistake. Like it was an awesome mistake, but it wasn't something I was looking for.
Okay. What about you, Benjamin?
What was the question again? I'm sorry.
So my question was, you're both coming from a Catholic background, and there's a Catholic ministry on campus, but you ended up at the Christian Student Center and not the Catholic ministry. I was just wondering if there was any kind of predetermined thought process, or was it all just strictly accident?
Yeah, for me, it was, I guess you could say accident, whatever terms you want to put that in. But yeah, like I thought like maybe once a month I would go to like Catholic church just to, just to keep my roots in a sense, I was, it ran through my mind once I saw there's like a Catholic student center, like maybe I might go there like once or something. But yeah, showing at the CSC was really just by like accident, I guess.
Gotcha. So neither one of you thought that the CSC stood for Catholic Student Center.
No.
Okay. I just wanted to check and make sure. So what is it about the CSC that made you guys want to keep coming?
So I remember for like the CSC, it's connected to this church, Central Church of Christ, and we're like in the morning like college Bible study, and I remember you saying to us how even if like you're just sticking around at the CSC because of the people and you want friends, like that's okay. But like obviously like the main goal is to like build a relationship with Christ. And I think that was definitely true with me. I came into college like wanting friends, wanting to be connected, and because my first event was at the CSC, I was like, hey, this is a great way to meet people. These people seem like, pretty cool, good people. So I started like going to the CSC just because of the social aspect. But then quickly after that, like I realized like the bigger picture. And, at the CSC, we were having like Bible studies. There's a lot of church events. And I feel like just by going to the events, even though like at that early stage, I wasn't like completely open to like, being a full throttle Christian, I think that like kind of kickstarted my faith.
Great. What about you, Benjamin?
For me, I think it's kind of along Bobby's page of how the social aspect of it, because when I came there, obviously everybody's looking for friends when they come to college,
Right.
And everybody's pretty friendly and nice. So I was like, I'll go back to some of their events. So I go back again and stuff. And I guess at that point, within like the first month of college, I'm just like, I didn't know how to really like feel about like the whole like Christian thing and what that like the CSC was about. But like as I learned more about it, as Bobby said, like you have more Bible studies. You grow, you you're more open to the ideas and everything. So I think the social aspects like definitely kept me coming back, but as like the other aspects of like studying the Bible and like wanting to grow closer to God and all that, that really um was the main thing that kept on like drawing me back, I guess.
Right. But from y'all's experience coming in as new college freshmen, you guys are both in the fall. You're both going to be juniors. Is that right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. So thinking back to the point when you came in as freshmen, how important was the activities that the CSC did? And we have a pretty robust. We kept everybody pretty busy. How important do you guys feel that was for freshmen? Not knowing anybody and coming in to that situation.
I think that was extremely important because, especially when you have people like me and Benjamin who aren't initially there for the faith aspect, you're only sticking around because of the social aspect. I think that's like key to keeping like people's interest because a lot of like freshmen, I mean you could even have like sophomores, juniors, and seniors, but I feel like freshmen is like the main draw for the CSC. You have like different activities through like any organization, so having like um, you know interesting events throughout welcome week I think will I know it kept me around, and I think it'll continue to keep other people around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say that those like the welcome week events definitely made a big impact on whether like I stayed or not. Because I think if I went to the ice cream social and like nobody talked to me or nobody was like friendly to me or anything, I probably would have never came back to the CSC. Um,
Yeah, I
but
agree.
but just because the CSC, you get there, like everybody's like you're all including, even if you're like kind of quiet, everybody gets you involved and talking. People want to get to know you and stuff. So I think that like how including the events are and how many there are, because it gives you like the more time you're there, the more time you're around everybody. You start to know everybody better, and it makes you want to come around more. So
And something I'll add on to what Benjamin said is something I really like about the CSC is like at first you can't really tell because people are just being like friendly, but the CSC definitely has like a family aspect to it. Once welcome week ends, and like the people like who like actually decide to stay, and like you kind of filter out the people who just came for the events. You develop these incredible relationships with these people. I would go as far to say as like post college friendships, and those types of friendships really make a difference in your life because whether you're going through like good times or bad times, those people at the CSC are really there for you.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Bobby, because we're talking about the activities that the Student Center does is purposeful. It's got there's intention behind having all these events, which is to put people together to hopefully show that there's a group of very genuine, loving, caring students at the Student Center that truly want to develop meaningful relationships, and we do that by having these events and activities, which leads us really to the the place where you guys ended up, which was going from that, oh, I'm coming to the CSC because I really enjoy these events, to now you guys moving into this place where you're beginning to think about your faith in terms of your own faith, not necessarily, oh, this is just something I did in high school with my parents and this is where I went to church and whatever. Now you're beginning to really think about spiritual matters from a deeper aspect. So saying all that, I'm asking you guys, because you've transitioned through this, the significance of the impact the CSC has had on your faith and your spirituality. Do either one of you care to discuss your feelings about that? Transitioning from that, showing up at the CSC just because it's fun and we're doing things, to now a point where you have built relationships with people and you're getting involved in Bible studies and you're beginning to think about your own spirituality.
Yeah, I think it's definitely, like I was saying before, you have that division almost where you have the people that stick around and the people that kind of like get filtered out throughout Welcome Week. And I think for people like Benjamin and I who like stuck around, we definitely had, even if it was a small level, we had a level of interest in growing our faith. And at the time, I didn't really even like notice that myself, but because I grew up, Catholic, I felt like somewhat responsible to going to church and like making somewhat of an effort in growing my faith. And I think in doing so through this CSC, like we go to church, we have, devotions, we have all things, we have all sorts of activities throughout the week. I think you eventually get to a point of spiritual maturity, I guess, where you think, okay, I can't just rely on people to approach me to have Bible studies. I need to start having Bible studies myself. I need to, prayer. I need to like pray. I need to do journals, all this kind of stuff. And I think it's kind of just like a natural transition for you to do that. I feel like the more important is, maybe the quicker that happens for you or something. But the CSC was definitely pivotal in me kind of like getting there, because a lot of the people, juniors at the time, a lot of people at the CSC already have like such a strong faith, and they kind of led by example.
Okay. Yeah, and I'd say for me, the impact it's like had on my faith and all that. So like in high school, I went to a private Catholic high school, Father Ryan High School in Nashville. Each year we had theology classes where you were taught basically Catholic theology, So that was kind of my basis of faith, I guess. And also, I guess going before that in fourth grade, my parents, I converted to Catholicism, I guess. I took classes and all that, had my first communion. Got confirmed in 8th grade because I went to Catholic middle school. But yeah, all throughout high school, I was just seeing Christianity from, the Catholic perspective, all the, what they think and all that, which is, I isn't saying isn't bad, but it was just very like one-sided, and I honestly, I only thought like the only like church there was, like the real church was, just Catholic church. That's the only way to go, just because my dad's side they're like devoted to and everything. But like once I got to college, I guess I wanted to drop it in a sense, but once you get to the CSC, once I got to the CSC and everything, obviously the people kept me there, but once you start studying and everything, you realize there's more than you think. You can't just go off what other people tell you. That's what they mostly do in the Catholic Church, what other people tell you, and you really have to look in the Bible yourself and everything. So like my first Bible study with Brandon, we read Matthew, and there's a lot of stuff in there. I'd never really read the Bible in my life, so I was like, this is interesting, but once you get past like kind of your foundation, I'd say that like that that there's more than to it than just, going to fellowship and stuff and having like Bible studies with others. You really deep down, you really want to have like a desire to grow closer to God and to have Bible studies with yourself, as Bobby said, and all that, and have deeper understanding of your faith. And yeah.
So
Also,
go ahead, Bobby.
something I wanted to add on to that was kind of similar to how Benjamin was talking about, like going from Catholicism to where he is now. I definitely saw myself at a crossroads because before coming to the CSC, I was Catholic, but I was considering either like dropping Catholicism either completely, which would kind of like drop my Christian faith completely because I kind of saw them as the same thing, or just like going a different route. And I remember it was like almost before fall break. Me and Benjamin were like sitting on the couch at the CSC, and I was like, I don't want to like fully abandon like my Christian faith, but I think like I don't see Catholicism as like necessarily the right road. And I think at the CSC, I know Brandon, he was talking to you, Craig, about this in like a previous podcast, how at the CSC he like approached Bible studies with like a very like relaxed attitude towards it. Like we were all coming from like different aspects of faith, whether it be like, Methodist, Catholicism, whatever have you. But because like both people were open-minded, I think that led to like me wanting to like explore my faith even more.
Yeah, and you guys have both brought it up, and I wanted to circle back around to this because you're both raised, or your faith background is that of a Catholicism, and we try to create at the Student Center a place where you can have any background denomination, and hopefully through Bible study, just naturally questions begin to arise. Well, we don't do this, or you read something, you have a question like, well, how come you guys do this or you don't do that? And so you guys work through a lot of these doctrinal issues that you see as different. That you were raised to do this or say this or whatever, and you're seeing something different from a, the best I can call is a non-denominational. You guys have heard enough of my my Bible classes to know that when I'm teaching, I'm teaching. Let's just go to the Bible. Let's look in the Bible. Let's see what the Bible says about this, and let's try to pattern ourselves as closely as we can to the master plan, which was in the first century. It's how Jesus taught his apostles and how they went to the different churches, and so that first century type of doctrinal worship, having the whole family vibe, that's all part of the CSC. And for a lot of different faith backgrounds, it doesn't match up to what so you guys work through a lot of these differences, and you came to this point where you decided, hey, I want to basically do what they were doing in the first century, which is to confess Christ as my Lord and Savior, to be baptized into Christ, knowing, full well what you were doing. So it wasn't, the kind of sprinkling. You had full cognizant thought processes of why you were doing what you were doing. So you guys had this basically this conversion experience. And I'm just curious to know, because I've never asked you guys this question, and it's a tough question, and it's a personal question. If you don't want to answer it, say, let's pass on that question. How, doing what you guys did, how did that impact your relationship with your family, who, has ties with the Catholic Church and maybe deep ties? I don't know. Did that create issues for either one of you?
Well, I know at first, when I got baptized, I didn't really tell my parents because I was like, because they knew I was going like the Christian Student Center, but they didn't know I was like having all these Bible studies and all that. But I got baptized, and they were following the CSC on Instagram and all that. But my mom like texted me and she was confused. She texted me, she's like, I was kind of confused about like why you didn't think when you're a baby why I wasn't that good enough. But she said like again, you're your own person. You can obviously do what you want. But yeah. And I think also my grandma, my mom's mom, she's Episcopal. So, the Episcopal Church and the Catholic Church, they're very much alike in the way they're set up. So I I don't think like they, I don't think my family cared really that much, but I definitely at first they're like, whoa, why did you just do that,
Yeah. For my family, it was a bit different. I kind of like approached it as like, okay, this is my own faith. Like when I was at the point of like deciding that I was going to get baptized, I was definitely past the point of like, Bible studies, being like pushed on me. Like I was definitely wanting to do it myself. And because I had that like independent like thought process, I didn't like tell my parents like, hey, like I'm gonna get baptized, like I'm, doing all of this because like I wasn't doing it for them, I was doing it for myself. But because I was raised Catholic, my parents and my family obviously did find out after I told them, and my mom especially is super Catholic, and her mom is as well. So my grandmother, and they were very confused at first, and I want to say even like a little frustrated because like they'd both like grown up like Catholic, and that's kind of like all they knew. But like I think they kind of like got over it and eventually respected me for like taking my faith so seriously and seeking out my own answers instead of just like following what had been taught to me and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think my family, they also came to that, they respected me because I took my faith so seriously. And even okay, so it was like it was last summer. My grandma, she's a super Catholic one. So my dad's mom came down. She lives in Ohio, so she came down, and it was Sunday. And I asked her, I was like, hey, do you want to come to church with me? And I was thought she was gonna say no, because she's Catholic, and I don't think she really likes that, likes Church of Christ and all that, But she came with me, and I think Bobby, were you with me? No, you weren't with me. That was a different time. Never mind. But yeah, she came to church with me, and she was like, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, and I actually enjoyed it. So I was really shocked by that, and I'm glad she was like so open to it,
And something I also think is good, a little off topic, but kind of on topic, is I think college is the perfect time for young adults to make such important decisions like this because I think like after college you're like open-mindedness towards religion and like other topics like kind of closes off and like tapers to like what you already know. And I think being introduced to something like the CSC, as a freshman really helps like open my eyes to like what religion really is instead of just, going my entire life like just knowing like one thing.
So, do you guys think that the CSC is relevant or needed for college students? And it sounds redundant, but you guys know the world we're living in, and obviously, there's a whole lot of other things that you could be doing, activities and events in the college life. So, I guess maybe a better question is, how is the CSC relevant for college students today?
I think it's relevant because I feel like the world today and whatever, when you go to college, people are like, oh yeah, I'm just going to party. I'm going to do whatever I want, But I think the CSC is relevant because it shows people that to have fun and to have like friends and stuff, you don't need to kind of fit the mold of society, that that you can kind of go against the grain, and that there's other ways to have fun and like have fellowship and yeah.
Yeah, I think it's relevant because Christianity is slowly becoming like more of a radical idea because like society and culture is like moving towards like serving yourself instead of serving others. And I think the CSC, allows people to approach religion and Christianity in more of like a natural way. Like, hey, like we're just, a bunch of like, college kids coming together for a common purpose instead of like, someone who maybe isn't raised like a Christian and they're approaching Christianity for the first time, seeing it in more of like a church aspect or something like that can be a little overbearing or overwhelming sometimes. So I think the CSC is a great way to allow people to like grow their faith and not be like overwhelmed by it.
So you guys are kind of in the midst of it. What, Bobby, both of y'all's response made me think about we know and we read about the majority of college students when they get to college, they don't go to church. They basically drop out. They lose their faith. The last statistic, anywhere from 50 to 75%, 2/3 of college students who were in church, once they get to college, it's a done deal. What do you guys? What is it that seems to be working, or what's kept you guys going to church and being plugged in and being involved? What's the difference there? Why are you guys beating the statistics?
I think at the CSC, I can only speak like from the CSC, like the same thing could be happening at other ministries, but I think for the CSC, you see like young adults like practicing their faith, but like it actually working. Like that's kind of like a weird way of looking at it, but like you're like, okay, like you're reading the Bible and it's about loving each other and uplifting each other and serving God. And it's one thing to read that, and it's another thing to read it and actually do it. And I think you can definitely see that, in every person at the CSC. Like you walk through the doors and you're like, wow, like why is everyone so different here? And then you look up and you're like, oh, it's Christian ministry. And I think that is something really special and unique because you don't really find that in like adult life, like post college, like unless you're going to church and you have like like adult ministry type class thing, like you don't have stuff like that. So I think the CSC is really important to take advantage of that and really appreciate it while you can in those 4 years.
Yeah, I say what like I guess keeps me coming back and like being the statistic and all that is because when you, as Bobby said, when you come in, you're like, why is everybody so different? Why is everybody so happy? And you're like, oh, they're Christians, and you want to like learn more about that and all that. And then as you grow in your faith, you realize that serving God, putting God first does bring you happiness. And when you don't do that, I'm sure Bobby can attest to it, but I realize when I don't do that, when I slip a little, that I'm just not as happy or fulfilled. So I think like I could never at this point, step away from it, because of how I've seen it work through my life and what it has done for me.
That's both of you guys. That's just very powerful statements. So looking ahead a few years after you guys have graduated, I want you to think about this for a second. What do you guys think is going to be the biggest challenge to your faith? And what do you think that the church can or should do to help you through that?
I think the biggest challenge will be maintaining it with the same enthusiasm and like that motivation, because like I said, like the CSC, it's like this, special time in your life where you have like all these young adults like moving towards the same goal, like being better Christians and serving each other. And then like post college, you kind of lose that. But I think, we see the church is like a community, and as long as we have each other, we have that church. So I think if we're able to like maintain and keep our relationships with each other, I think it shouldn't be a problem, because we'll like keep each other on track and stuff. But I think it'll definitely be difficult for sure. But as long as you like, have like the focus of where you want to be, and it like being around God, I think you'll be okay.
I think for me, that at least for me, I think it's going to be important to keep me from like slipping and all that, is to get plugged in to a church, because we won't have the CSC anymore. And that's kind of what's like feeding our fire, I guess, at the moment. Or whenever you're feeling down, you think back, you're like, oh, I have the CSC to go to and all that. But you need to find, I think it's important, like post-college, to find like that church where you have that group of like-minded people. Because I think if you wait too long to get back to church after college, you might, find yourself with some other people that aren't very like-minded. I feel like you would slowly slip away. So I think that definitely getting plugged in somewhere and keeping in touch with your Christian friends, making sure everybody's like doing okay and all that.
Great. Bobby, Benjamin, thanks for taking time out of your day to talk to me, answer some questions. The insight that you guys gave to some of that is just very insightful. Insightful. There you go. How's that? Seriously though, I'm very encouraged about the future of the church, and knowing that there's men like yourself. You guys aren't waiting or sitting back for some future thing. I mean, you're actively engaged. You're taking part of the church today. You're plugging in, and really, especially with you two, you've dug deep to strengthen your faith, to challenge the way that you might have been brought up, and to really look for truth in Scripture, and that is extremely encouraging for me. So you guys keep up the good work. And I'm looking forward to seeing both of you back at the CSC in the fall. Hopefully everything will be back open and we'll be back to normal. Okay, some information about upcoming podcasts for those of you that are tuning in. You're not going to want to miss what's in store for future episodes. I have not one, but two youth ministers, former CSC leaders, now working as youth ministers. And I can't really put into words how proud it makes me to see these guys work through their faith and arrive at a place where they feel compelled to work with younger upcoming Christians. And I think that is so needed today. So next week, I'm going to be talking to Cody Harrington. He is the youth minister at Etheridge Church of Christ, and he is married to China, and they have a young son named Brecken. And like I said, he is a former student leader, student director at the CSC. And then the week after that, we're going to change things up a little bit, and I'm going to have another former student ambassador, Cody Hedgecoth. I don't know what's up with all the Codys all of a sudden, but we've got two Codys back to back. Anyway, he's the youth minister at Saudi Church Christ. And the other day, he texted me with a bunch of questions, and I thought that maybe we would just cover those questions during a podcast, because they're really relevant to a lot of things we talked about today, some of the things that we talked about with you guys, Bobby and Benjamin, today. And so I thought we might swap things up a little bit and let Cody ask me these questions and put me on the spot rather than me putting other people on the spot for a change. So anyway, I'm looking forward to both of these episodes, and I hope everyone will join us for what I'm sure will be some interesting conversation. As always, your feedback is important, and let us know if there's something that you would particularly like to hear, and we will do our best to address it. Final words, 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 11 and 12. But as for you, O man of God, flee these things, pursue righteousness, godliness, faith, love, steadfastness, gentleness, fight the good fight of faith. Take hold of eternal life, to which you were called and about which you made the good confession in the presence of many witnesses. Tune in next Thursday for another podcast of The Lion, the Way, and the War. Until then, have a blessed week.